of owning a cafe and other heroic deeds by Beware the Tristado. Chapter 177, Epilogue, Class 1A and beyond. There will be a small announcement at the end of this chapter. A lot had happened this past year, hadn't it?
Welcome to the Norneco. What can I get you?
Upon returning to Musutafu after their vacation in New Eden, his husband had been true to his word in every respect. Morning, Aizawa-san. I'll take 2 bento, 2 flat white coffees, and a box of paw-pad cookies, please. The first step, unsurprisingly, had been a visit to UA. He'd told his white-furred best friend about his plans to pass on One for All and asked to become a member of the prestigious school's faculty in September of that year upon completion of a preliminary teaching qualification. Nezu had agreed, of course. Having the former number 1 amongst the staff was kudos enough, but having him on hand to help guide, nurture, and support Mirio as he made the power his own had truly sealed the deal.
Welcome to the Norneco. What can I get you?
Then, with that settled, he, Toshinori, and Mirai had presented the man with some further ideas they wanted him to consider. Atsuhiro, Oboro, and Izashi, too, were keen to show their support.
Shouta-kun, we'll take a pitcher of mint-spiked lemonade for the knitting nook, please. Oh, and that whole chiffon cake, too. The Austrians have cake for breakfast. I don't see why we can't.
Firstly, they talked about all of the courses available at the school. He'd argued, alongside his good friends, that just having a general studies and business alternative to the hero course wasn't good enough, not for the rapidly changing world they lived in.
Welcome to the Norneco. What can I get you?
And so, every child, regardless of the course they ended up taking at UA, would be given pro-hero uniforms with support items to train with. This, he'd reasoned, would lessen any resentment students unable to attain one of just 40 seats on the hero curriculum would feel, protect their identities, and allow them to truly show off their skills in tournaments, inter-school events, and rallies. Also, because the world they faced was no less dangerous, he'd insisted that every child complete mandatory self-defense and first aid classes.
Hey, Captain! The guys at the firehouse have asked for some extra things this morning, if that's okay. I gave the updated order to Dabby on my way out last night for the graveyard shift, and can I head into the kitchen to see if it's ready?
Secondly, since people like Melissa and Izuku theoretically couldn't access the hero course for health and safety reasons, that meant the course itself was flawed and that the support course needed to be broadened out, and the stigma attached to a career in such a vital and much-needed service had to be tackled.
Welcome to the Norneco. What can I get you?
Which meant that Power Loader's tiny department had to change.
Morning, Shoni. Yao Momo asked me to grab some gold tips imperial for her. 8 bags should be great, please.
And change it did. That was why, since the blonde and emerald-haired teens had flown through the UA entrance exams, they and a wonderful young woman named Hatsumi May were now spearheading a new and improved support course with their 9 classmates who transferred over after a few weeks of seeing what they were up to.
Welcome to the Norneco. What can I get you?
A support course that had been broken up into 3 categories: medical, technology, and gear.
Yo, Shachan! How you liking the new jazz mix I'm pumping through your speakers, huh? Oh, and thanks for the boxing up so many yakitori bowls, my man. Me 13 and Boro are running rescue missions in the USJ this afternoon with Yaki-senpai, so we're really gonna need these to power us through it, you know?
Izuku, of course, was the A student of the medical tech class. Recovery Girl was a wonderful mentor for him, and he'd already run several missions with the Hero Class 2B and 3A, where he tended to wounds, applied nanobot casts, and got to analyze every quirk he came across.
Welcome to the Norneco. What can I get you?
Whilst Melissa, ever her father's daughter, was crafting computers, software packages, trackers, scanners, and goodness only knew what else in her course that was so advanced that even Izashi, who was her mentor, struggled to keep up at times. Not that anyone was surprised. During every video call he'd been privy to, Garagi David and his father always gushed over her prototypes and creations, the mustached scientist all but weeping with pride, in between barking orders at his Yakuza assistants snooping around in the background.
Thank you for making my favorite onigiri for breakfast, Papa. They were great, but I got
whereas May, under the ever-watchful eye of 13, buried herself into the R&D course by designing and creating quirk-enhancing support gear and her robot babies. Not that the three didn't collaborate with each other. Oh no, for between them, in just under 2 weeks, they'd managed to create a light-reflecting, form-fitting supersuit for an invisible girl named Hagakare Toru so that she could attend mission-based classes, sweat-capturing, explosion-releasing gauntlets for Katsuki, and a voice-modifying device for Hitoshi.
Welcome to the Norneco. What can I get you?
And speaking of who used to be his youngest ward, the iris-haired teen had done him the great honor of training with and using the capture weapon he'd developed whilst wearing a similarly dark outfit under the hero name of Bunraku.
I'm so late! Shoni, can I grab a sub roll with teriyaki chicken, please? Oh, and 4 cream puffs. I promised Nejire, Tamaki, and Mirio I'd bring them with me. Thanks, you're a lifesaver.
His son, similarly, had been appropriately outfitted by Mirai and Atsuhiro. Their dashing and charming phantom thief adored everything from the spotted tie to the tails of his coat. The stopwatches, too, after David Garaki and Melissa had tinkered with them, allowed him to store up the effects of some quirks he copied to release at a later time. The photograph they'd taken here on his birthday, decked out like a proper gentleman, was now displayed pride of place in a frame above his Community Connections corkboard for everyone to see.
Welcome to the Norneco. What can I get you?
The only thing his son had opted out of using during the spring and summer months was the top hat Atsuhiro had gifted him, as that was to be worn in winter. The hat was decked out with a communications AI that could link to any cellular and communications device, and even now, his son couldn't wait to show it off in December when traditionally Class 1A and B would face off. He'd found a keen rival in a young woman named Kendo Itsuka, who he was destined to defeat in order to preserve the honor of Class A. Good morning, Shouta-san. I've brought some floral centerpieces for the tables. Oh, and some dried organic twine balls for the cats to play with as well. I'll drop those off with Tomo-chan before dotting these about, okay?
Mr. Compress, as their homeroom teacher, was reveling in such antics, his eyes even more alive as he excitedly chatted about them, devised lesson plans, and prepared hijinks to keep them on their toes. Welcome to the Norneco. What can I get you?
Not that the kids you'd come to know in Mentor didn't get back just as good as they got.
See you later, show. We've restocked the kitchen and seen to the delivery guy, okay? And don't forget we're having a family dinner tonight, alright? The Pussycats will be there at 5, and they're more than capable of finishing off the shift, so don't make me and Tomer have to pull rank on you or get Dad right involved. Hell, he's carried you out here more than once, and I'm pretty sure he'll do it again, you know?
They were an amazing group of young people, and just as he'd been imagining when his kids were small, many of them were dating now.
Welcome to the Norneco. What can I get you?
Hitoshi, Denki, Mashiro, and Nato had unanimously decided that they couldn't be without each other, and with Nemuri and her family to guide them, they were working incredibly hard on their communication skills and taking careful steps in what he knew to be the right direction. He had no doubt that they'd make it, that their love for each other would only grow more deeply with age.
Hey, the morning rush is finally dying down, huh? Well, as good as me and Rumi-tan are beat after our nightly patrol, so come on. Bring it in, cat daddy-o, these fierce wings of mine. Demand morning hugs before I head off to bed, and oh, you big softy! Are these chicken rabbit onigiri for us? You're the best!
Shoto and Izuku, alongside Eijiro and Katsuki, becoming romantically involved hadn't surprised anyone either. However, when Sato Rikido had boldly approached both Shigaraki and David about his growing feelings for Melissa, regardless of country leaders being able to cut me like a fish, the whole community had fawned and fussed all over him.
Welcome to the Norneco. What can I get you?
Then there was Ochako, who seemed pretty sweet on Ingenium's younger brother Tenya, while Suyu and Mezzo had tentatively started a relationship together with an interesting young man named Tokoyami Fumikage, who shared Eri's love of apples, Dabi's love of death metal, and had been unofficially adopted by Keigo. The now number 3 ranked hero had argued quite passionately that since Rumi had adopted Kachan and Ryuko had snagged up Tsuyu and Ojako, that he should get a cute emo boy with a badass quirk to raise as well.
Shouta-sama, Gigantomachia sends his apologies for the short notice, but he's finally gotten that giantess from the other side of Pangea to go on a date with him. So can I please take any cakes you've got left over? Thank you. Such good kids. Welcome to the Nordeco. What can I get you?
However, not to be outdone, romance seem to be claiming the older members of their community too. Hi, Teach! Mitsuki-san sent me to ask Mimi Button about where she wants those big old planters in the apartment box courtyard to be moved to, and what plates she wants ordering. Oh! You got a yakisoba box left? Can I have it? And one of those hibiscus lemonades, please? I bet you Matata won't have had his third breakfast yet, you know?
Fuyumi, now an elementary school teacher, as she'd always dreamed, had fallen head over heels for Ryuko in her usually quiet, delicately reserved way. Well, until a not-so-innocent game of spin the battle come truth or dare, hailed by the oldest members of their League of Cafe that the truth had come out. The dragon-quirked woman, beyond delighted, had reciprocated those feelings in earnest amidst uproarious applause.
Welcome to the Nordeco. What can I get you?
He'd laugh with Toma the following day when the formerly Decay Quirk user had revealed they'd been spinning a sake bottle. Dabi apparently had been all smiles as he'd gotten up, walked to the room he and his husband shared, and walked back out with a shovel, which he'd cradled for the rest of the evening.
My usual order, please, Shouta. Oh, and could you give Toshinori this expression from me when you see him? He'll know what it means. And what is that inspector doing here, eh? You need to be stricter with that bastard and his minions, Gaki.
Not that Ryuko or Fuyumi had been worried. The pair of usually quiet, yet incredibly powerful women had merely sat together in the apartment's living room, whilst the rest of the couples had continued their frolics well into their Saturday evening just 2 weeks ago.
Welcome to the Nordeco. What can I get you?
Similarly, Ingo had finally worked up the nerve to ask Aoba-san to go from the small, quieter dates to going steady.
Morning, Captain! I'm here to pick up Cernada's order, please. Is that bubble tea for me? You're so sweet, thank you.
Which meant that virtually everyone in his community who wanted relationships deeper than friendships had them. Kimiko and Rei, he knew, weren't ready just now to open their hearts again. They had their children, friends, and extended Noraneko family all around them, and after the prisons they'd been trapped in, well, just enjoying freedom and the simple pleasure of companionship was enough, wasn't it?
You're welcome, Kaoruku. Let Sir know that he and his husband are expected tonight for dinner too, would you?
Smiling as she beamed at him, her arms filled with 3 muffin boxes, Shouta watched her walk through his cafe's door, the cat-eared bell chiming happily as she went. Then, after following her lithe form through the windows, the 29-year-old rolled his shoulders and took in his post-Wednesday morning rush eatery, his form relaxing. The whole Yakuza debacle had happened roughly a year ago this week, with the Wednesday being the last full day that he and Ari had spent underground. It was hard to believe sometimes that such a thing had happened, and looking back, considering that he'd initially just set out with his life savings and the goal of simply opening up a cafe for the people of this deprived area, well, he'd lived a pretty exciting life, hadn't he? His care center siblings were settled, happy, and probably on their way to parenthood. His husband was a much-loved teacher at UA, and although One for All was no longer his, he could still hold his own, and now stood at his still impressive 6'4", the jerk, when it came to combat training and his insights into planning successful rescue missions. Well, such experience was invaluable, wasn't it? That was one of the reasons he believed that Mirio, Nejire, Tamaki, and Natsuo had become what many at their school had dubbed the Big Four, each of them on track for becoming the next #1, regardless of any advantage a certain blonde, smiley aerobics enthusiast might have had. He wouldn't put it past Lamilia's 3 friends to race him to the top, with the whole of Class 1A and the support department, no doubt, hot on their heels. Chuckling to himself, he double-checked that his few remaining customers were okay before slipping out of the service bar to look around. The walls were still dotted with framed cat photos, only now their actual feline family took center stage. Gigi, their oldest, was pictured snoozing or being lavished with affection. He still lived upstairs with Dabi and Tumra, his aged form brought down for gentle grooming and light socializing every day. The kittens were as boisterous as ever. There were several photos of Red Riot, Kaijin, Batskatsugo, Hiro, Hotaru, and Kiro tearing around whilst Hahue, Sushi, and Himura attempted to keep order. Hime, though, was still prone to luxuriating instead of getting too involved with the antics of her younger family members. At this rate, she too would need to be taken out of the enclosure proper and housed in a home. He was sure that Ochako and her parents would be more than happy to house her in their 2-bedroomed home, since, now that Rio earned such a great living constructing various things at UA, they had no money worries whatsoever. To see all of the families interconnected with his own, doing so well, never failed to make him happy.
Hey, boss. You need me to man the toe?
Blinking out of his memories, his smile broadening a little more, Shouta turned the corner to greet Tomoko.
Yes, please. I have some baking to do for tonight, and thank you again for covering for me.
He offered with a nod. Preening, the turquoise-haired woman waved him away with her oversized paw glove. Nah! She chuckled before gesturing at the cats, still so happily enjoying their enclosure.
You know it's a pleasure.
Sharing another smile with her, his right hand offered a wave at the Nomu before he headed back to his kitchen. Weekday lunchtimes were mostly quiet, of course, but he wanted to make sure that the Pussycat team would have plenty of pre-made wares to sell whilst he and his family enjoyed their bi-weekly gathering back at his family's apartment. Domesticity was truly bliss, wasn't it?
What does she get now?
Smiling right alongside Melissa and May, Izuku felt, oh my god, so unbelievably, undeniably happy!
Alright, you guys, cool your jets. The big man has a few things to say before we get started, okay?
Because sure, it would have been nice to have a quirk, but...
Thank you, Loud Cloud. Now that, my young heroes, you'll notice that the team's amazing unforeseen simulation joint covers a number of disaster scenarios, and in terms of your mission today, you are to form teams of 5 to not only investigate each area safely, but to locate and rescue your homeroom teacher.
Standing hero as support hero Deku beside Star and Makina, whilst his friends geared up, was one of the most incredible things he'd experienced so far at UA. And sure, during his first week here, he and Melissa had met some disbelieving looks, some quiet muttering, and outright accusations of favoritism having gotten them into the school. However,
that's right, kiddos. Now look lively. You have 5 minutes to team up. Oh, yeah.
After he assisted Shoni and Takeoni in their first few Fridays of multi-class self-defense lessons well, showing that he could hold his own and take down second and third years with a few swift pressure point jabs that they had no hope of defending against, had pretty much silenced those cruel words, hadn't it? Bakugo Katsuki would be the first to admit that UA High School was more than deserving of its international acclaim.
Teams of 5, eh? Sweet! Hey, we should totally ask Jiro to join our group, right? Her audio quirk will help us to find Sensei before anyone else!
The grounds were expertly planned out.
Sorry, Denki-kun. I think Yaomomo has already snagged her up. I wonder if they're going to finally acknowledge their feelings for each other today. If Nemuni was here, she'd have us make a bet on it, I'm sure.
The facilities were exceptional.
You're such a romantic, Mashiro. Now, come on, we need to wrestle our Choco-chan away from that loved-up Ida and Hagakare, alright? There'll be no obstacle we can't get around or under with a quirk, and if she teams up with them, we'll be at a disadvantage, won't we?
But although Lunch Rush was a great cook, he still looked forward to the bentos that Shoni provided for them every morning.
Although I agree with your reasoning, Nato-kun, we're grabbing Shoto. If we allow a Kachan, Eiji, Ashido, Sero, and Shoto alliance, we may as well go back to the changing rooms.
Their cat dad, team dad, and beloved older brother always smiled so endearingly at their praise of his food art hobby that all of them had agreed unanimously that they'd protect that smile at any and all costs.
What? You're so smart, Toshi-kun! I'll go get him now! Oi! Shoto-kun! Izu-kun said you should totally work with me and my boys!
Blinking out of his thoughts when Denki's boisterous call-out snapped him back to the present, Katsuki immediately stepped in front of the no-quirk youth.
He did. Well, okay.
No way, Pikachu! Icy Heart is on our team, and that's final!
To stop him from joining the now pouting blonde whilst the rest of his partners looked on.
Better luck next time. You just like showing off in front of Eiichiro, don't you?
No, that's not... Oh, shit!
Feeling his body freeze on the spot whilst Nato and Denki broke into uproarious cackles, Katsuki realized his mistake all too late as Itoshi simply smirked at him.
Move out of Shoto's way, Kachan.
Fidgeting but moving to comply is similarly noted Ashido and Sero, snickering whilst his boyfriend, ever compassionate, walked over to be at his side, those crimson beautiful eyes narrowed in an annoyance sharper than the jags of his now ruby hair.
Hey! That's not so manly, Toshi-kun!
Oh, it's okay, Eiji. Shoto wants to come to the dark side, don't ya? The electric quirk user grinned with a wink, his eyebrows waggling playfully as the former Todoroki cocked his head at them.
Dark side, he murmured, his blue jumpsuited form moving nonetheless. But all of you have light shades of hair, don't you?
Having set up his medical station, Izuku looked to help Mei and Melissa, but found that M and M were already engrossed in a conversation featuring techno-language that even he couldn't decipher. Smiling fondly at them, he then turned his attention to his other friends. To see all of them, himself included, dabbed in hero suits was just so thrilling, wasn't it? And as a testament to Shoni's teachings, getting themselves into teams was a fun yet logical process. Team A comprised, no prizes for guessing, of Kachan, Eiji, Ashido, Mina, Sero, Hanta, and Rikido. The yellow-suited hero had been called over by their junior Cafe League's leader because he was better than Shoto anyway, apparently. And speaking of his partner, he was in Team D. D because it stood for Denki. Because of course. Then in Team B, Tsuchan had stood with her partners and Aoyamakun, which meant that Team C featured the genius Yaomomo, Jiro, Ochago, Idakun, and Toru-chan. She'd insisted upon such informality after he, Melissa, and May had tirelessly worked to craft the perfect suit for her. He couldn't believe really just how much they'd been able to achieve in such a short amount of time, and amongst so many older, warier students who'd found all of the changes Nezuji had made.
Yes! Okay! Team A, B, C, and D, look up at the mission board where Makina is loading your objectives and such patterns.
A little much.
And to make things a little more interesting, the villains who are holding your Sasuke-sensei are moving him from area to area, so every team has an equal chance of finding him and winning the exercise. You dig?
Not that he, his partner, and friends had stood for any kind of bullying, sneers, or bewildered expressions, of course. Plus, after Mirio and his team had invited him to analyze their performance in various training sessions, well, hey! He and his fellow support students were being asked for their opinions, advice, and gear.
Now, are you ready?
To be wanted, to be useful, to contribute to society was just as Shoni had told him so many years ago in the cafe, his 6-year-old mind blown as he watched the dark-haired eatery owner take down that awful multi-armed man who had tried to hurt his Aunt Kimiko. Ah! You didn't need a quirk, flashy or no, to be a good person, make a positive difference, and help others.
Then get to it in 3, 2, 1, go!
And he was going to be a hero who'd prove it in every way that he could. Smiling at the top of the USJ's stairs, his form bracketed by Oboro and Tizashi, Yagi Aizawa Toshinori felt his chest swell with pride.
Senpai, making this scenario feels a little fitting considering what this week marks, you know?
For there, their expressions, fiercely determined and excited, strode the future, and by God, how brightly they shone!
Yes, well, back then, as incredible as our young friends were when Chisaki struck, they must have felt so helpless, being locked up behind the walls of UA and my agency. I hope that this exercise, where they're able to move and act as heroes in this safe space, could do some good.
He breathed, his arms folding.
They're all remarkable, aren't they?
Watching whilst the other two teachers nodded, their chests eagerly puffed, he then looked to where Izuku, Melissa, and Hatsumeme were setting up the marvelous gadgets and gizmos they'd been so diligently developing, to see their camaraderie, to know that they were being spoken of so highly by the other children. They helped, thrilled him, but it also reawakened feelings of shame and regret in himself because, well, if you'd asked him what the chances of quirkless children were of entering into the profession he'd allegedly set the gold standard for in the years preceding meeting his husband and helping to form their family, he would have said slim to none. He would have run into Midoriya Izuku in another life and told him to give up. He could have told Dave that entering Melissa into schools that offered hero courses would be unintentionally cruel and thought he was saying and doing the right thing. God, what a fool he would have been.
Oh! Looks like Team C are gonna need Dr. Decker already thanks to all of that debris in the zero gain zone. And he's up. Oi! Hatsumi-chan! You need to make me a pair of those rocket boots, you hear?
Blinking out of his thoughts, the smile he wore glittering, the former symbol of peace offered a nod at the emerald-haired boy as he flew towards the hurricane zone, his medi-backpack brimming with a combination of excellent healthcare resources, and his face set with a confident, determined expression he'd once thought he'd never see on the once timid boy.
Ah, such good kids indeed!
As 1520 rolled around, Yagi Aizawa Shouta had greeted his elementary school regulars and decked Kohana, Anak, Kota, and Eri out in their aprons, badges, and caps so that they could deliver the snacks and drinks they'd asked for to their friends sat in a booth by the cat enclosure.
Did you have a good day at school, sweetheart?
He asked after his youngest child returned to the service bar with an empty tray and a beaming smile lighting her face.
Uh-huh,
she veritably chirped.
We had 2 new kids start today. Shimano, Mahoro, and Katsuma. Yeah, that's their names. And, Katsuma-san is really sweet. He's in class with me and Kotaku, and I think their dad'll let them come here after school tomorrow. Isn't that great, Papa?
Chuckling fondly at her enthusiasm, he then took a glance to where the wild pussycat's ward was stood near the longest study table, his hands wringing the little apron he wore anxiously, his expression pensive and a little displeased by their conversation. Oh, so that's why the sometimes surly young man had fallen back into scowling. He probably wasn't such a Katsuma fan, or rather his protective streak when it came to Eri was flaring.
I look forward to meeting him,
he acknowledged with a grin, their hands reaching for a small box of cat treats he'd kept to one side under his smart till, the child's eyes widening further when he presented it.
These are just for you and Coda to share out with our furred family after your other friends head home, okay?
He offered as she bounced a little with excitement.
So why don't you ask him to keep them safe in the meantime, all right?
Watching her nod, she then snapped off a salute and calmly walked towards the little boy who'd sworn to protect her all but a year ago. At the little conversation they shared, he watched the red cap-wearing youth brighten considerably, his small hands cupping hers whilst the box of treats was swapped over, his young face showcasing the small wistful smile he only used when truly happy and content. Good. Not that he didn't think both of them should be broadening their friendship circles, of course. However, just like Eri, Kota had lived through tremendous grief and heartache. He knew he was loved by his adoptive family, but unlike the girl he and his husband had successfully adopted, he'd known both of his parents. He'd loved them, and their loss would always be a weight across his shoulders. That was why when he formed attachments to people, he worried about losing them in ways that ran far deeper than the average 6-year-old. However, in time, with continued therapy sessions, his older brothers and sisters' guidance, and their community, he'd be able to let that overly protective side of himself mellow, wouldn't he? Walking back to the Noroneko after another successful day's teaching was, Toshinori would admit, incredibly fulfilling, and with his aviator shades, baseball cap, and squashed rabbit ears, he found that no members of the public bothered him and his fellow teachers. Sending the kids sprinting off ahead of them had helped with that, of course. He remembered beginning his newest and greatest career path last September and being more than a little swamped by well-wishers, reporters, and fans alike.
He'd had to alter the route he usually took home several times, just so that his beloved husband's Noroneko wasn't overrun.
Mom, another day, another dollar, huh? Well, not that you need it, senpai.
Looking to Izashi, the shorter blonde's right hand, merrily texting away to his fiancée, the former number one chuckled. I'll have you know that I have a growing young family to support, and a muffin addiction to fund. Obero pitched in. Oh, the ridiculous muscle car that all but it has fuel to fade. Atsuhiro furthered with a cheeky wink. He and the cloud quirk users snickered whilst he balked at them. Wait, that's... He attempted to defend as the others, each one a dear friend, continued to laugh at and with him. Okay, fine. I guess that... Whoa! Hey guys, we got a bucket! Blinking, their laughter halting, Koshinori looked to Hizashi as the slenderer of their group kicked up into a jog.
Hey, what?
Seiji and Tadeo are having to stop Takeo from punching some old lady's lights out, so come on! Feeling his breath catch in his lungs, the oldest of the group nodded at Obero, who summoned a cloud to buoy them up and into the air at speed. Hang on! He called their cover as just a group of friends, yucking it up after a hard day's work, thoroughly shattered whilst they flew up and away from the thankfully quiet side street they'd been heading down, his ears tuning into the conversation being shared between the two partners across the present mic-branded phone.
Babe, we're on our way!
Zashi, it's Isu-san. She's heading towards the Norodeko.
Wait, Itsu-san isn't...
Feeling his eyes flash, the lingering flames of One for All locked into his soul, igniting. Whoa! Toshinori launched himself from the nimbus using a combination of float and black whip, his nostrils flaring. That woman! The person who'd neglected and abused his husband and those dear boys had dared to show her face here even after he'd had an agency find contact and warn her off years ago. Stay where you are! Skidding to a snap, his sneakers smoking on the concrete slabs that covered the courtway which connected the Noraneko to the apartment buildings that looked over it, the number one sucked in a deep, steadying breath whilst he stared down at the diminutive, scowling, and clearly drunken woman. So much for her promising the last judge she'd stood before that she'd never touch a drop again. Don't take another step, he warned, his tone a low, thunderous rumble, whilst he looked back up to see the twins and Seiji, all three of them sagging a touch of relief as they continued their approach without Takeo dragging the other two after his seething form. It's Susan, isn't it? He questioned, his arms folding. In his periphery, he could see Obero and the others flying their way. There were many faces peering curiously out of the cafe windows, too. He would have preferred that Shouta not get wind of her being here, especially not now. Not this week. What's it, big elf? Sighing, his shoulders squaring, he watched as she swayed a little on her feet, her head tilting back to appraise him through thick-framed, dirt-smeared glasses. What a mess! You're in violation of your restraining order, for one thing, he stated before wresting his phone from the right cargo pants pocket. Let me call you a taxi. No, she grunted, her wrinkled hand waving an old leather purse at him. This is a free country, and I used to live here, and just because everything's so shiny now, doesn't mean that the badness and rot isn't still under the surface. She huffed before abruptly turning, her free arm jerking at the younger men behind him. Obero, Hizashi, and Azuhiro were with them now, and shit, Class 1A were pouring out of the Noroneko to investigate. Yes, sir. You know what I mean, she called, her feet unsteady on flat-stained shoes. Don't think you're fooling anyone, she furthered, whilst he approved a driver to swing by as soon as possible. You've not changed. You're still the same sniveling brats who screwed me over. We screwed you? Takeo snarled, his body now held back by the bros who whispered to him that she's not worth it, man, as the kids warily and cautiously approached Shit. Oji-san, is everything okay? Kids, can you please go back inside? Itsu-san.
Snapping his head around almost so quickly it hurt, Toshinori felt the lax dregs of his quirk fizzle away as the cafe owner, with Eri in his arms, coated to his left, and all of his kids bunched around him protectively as they moved to join him, those dark eyes of his unreadable. Oh, how wrong that spiteful, hateful woman so shakily stood between the two sides of their family was.
Aizawa, Tenny,
She grinned nastily.
So, it's true. You did come back here, just like you said you would.
She spat the teenagers standing around them, shuffling and standing taller, many muttering angrily at the insult the old hag had just used against their shoni.
Yes, that's right,
His husband replied evenly.
I'm not in the habit of saying or doing things I don't mean, am I?
He stated, his shoulders shrugging softly, nonchalantly in the face of his previous tormentor.
And as usual, you're wrong in everything you've said.
He added, his tone carrying no malice despite who was so unsteadily glaring up at him. Smiling bewilderedly, his arms carefully taking Eri from his husband, a nod at the kids gesturing them all forward, he proudly stood beside the man he couldn't love any more if it tried. He couldn't be more in awe of him if he tried either.
There is no rot here, Itsu-san. There's no badness.
He furthered, a steady hand gently resting atop Kota's capped head, whilst Nato, Hitoshi, Izuku, and Katsuki framed his other side.
This is our home.
He smiled as though nothing but warm.
These people here, they're my family.
He explained gently.
Well, most of my family.
He chuckled while she sneered.
I seem to have wonderful people just about everywhere these days. Not that I'm complaining.
He grinned, the children and his brothers braining.
And yes, despite everything you used to say. My brothers and I, we've made all of our dreams come true.
He said.
Naoki is thriving. We're all living. And we are loved. Loved like I never thought possible when the 6 of us lived together in that place.
He mused, his smile dimming.
The Noroneko Cafe, the cornerstone of our community, and everything. Our care center. The Noroneko Cafe, the cornerstone of our community, is everything. Our care center was supposed to be.
He explained, his right hand reaching to ruffle Nato's and Itoshi's hair in order to settle down the ire he no doubt sensed growing in the boys who adored him so much.
And you're welcome to come see for yourself if you'd like.
Balking, Toshinori felt himself getting choked. How could his husband be this compassionate toward someone who'd hurt him so cruelly? Itsu-san finally spat her wrinkled visage bitter.
Say that. You were always so full of shit.
She snarled before glowering up at him. And you, whoever you are, keep your taxi, she hissed. I've seen all I need to. This circus of yours. You think you're so big now, so special, but I remember you crying in the dark. I know how stunted you are, she huffed, and I can get to the train station just fine on my own. I'm not weak like you. I don't need anyone or anything.
Actually, ma'am, you'll need to come with us.
Blinking, Toshinori turned with his family to see a grim-faced Naomasa approaching the little woman who growled at him and the badge he displayed.
What?
Itsu Hisano-san, you're under arrest for violating a restraining order and for drunk and disorderly conduct.
The dark-haired detective cited officiously.
You have the right to remain silent and the right to an attorney.
He continued whilst the quirk man moved to guide her towards their unmarked police force car.
That's... No, it's not that!
She snapped.
You damn brat!
Watching as Sanza and Naomasa took her away, the former number 1 gently placed his left hand on the nape of his husband's neck.
Shouta-kun, that's all right.
The younger man replied softly, their eyes meeting even as the children began to crowd even more protectively around him.
There's just some people you can't reach.
he allowed quietly, his eyes tracking the car as it quickly and unobtrusively pulled away, the smile he wore broadening.
But we won't let that stop us from trying, right?
After a few quick phone calls, texts, and emails,
Oi, Koda-kun, can you ask Gigi where he'd rather be for me, please? I think he wants to be on a cushion in here, but what do I know?
Yagi Aizawa Shouta found the oversized living room within the apartment filled with Class 1A, the support students, all of his boards, and Keigo's agency, alongside his brothers and very best friends.
Tomura-senpai, you'd like to sit with you and Dabi, please? You'd also like some chicken and warm milk. I'll go let Kachan know, okay?
Tomura-senpai, he'd like to sit with you and Dabi-senpai, please. He'd also like some chicken and warm milk. I'll go let Kachan know, okay?
He felt bad, really, that Nomori and her pussycats were staffing his cafe instead of being here, but as the wonderful Poly group were so fond of telling him, they loved just being near. They loved that their love was accepted, and they adored the Norinaka too, him having to force the issue of paying them, notwithstanding.
Chako-chan, can you help me set up the Chubugdai tables, please, kiddo?
Not that there wouldn't be other occasions, probably sooner rather than later, where their family were hauled up here with his...
Oh, Himiko-chan, can you grab those napkins and bring them over?
And as he was sat here upon a plumped four-cushion with Kota, Eri, Anak, and Fuchida Kohana sat with him, one of Noaki's favorite storybooks spread across his lap for them to see the picture see.
Hi, I'll grab the chopsticks too. Hey, Jintan, did you and Chizome-tan remember to bring more cushions for all of us to sit on, eh?
He adored the simple pleasures that true family could bring.
Ma, Togata-chan, you're such a slave driver. Of course I did, angel daughter mine.
And even though a part of him wanted to help out in the kitchen,
Rikito, what do you think of this? Have I added too much salt?
he couldn't be prouder to see his kids, husband, and brothers mending the stove.
Kachan, that's incredible. For Yumini, here, you gotta try the sauce.
As the others worked to turn the room into a dining area, Atsuhiro's quirk had made short work of their furniture, and with his husband's muscle, Mitsuki's direction, and Inko's temperance, well, Katsuki-kun, you've outdone yourself. His home looked more like a cozy traditional restaurant than anything else.
Hey, thanks. Hey, Ears! Are you going to play some music or what?
And as he sat here, his lips moving as he told the story that he knew by rote.
Ears?
My name is Jiro Kyoka, you explosive moron! He couldn't help his smile or his contentment.
Ma, you too. I got ma. Get in between us two while me and Sarah help Yamamu and Rumi-senpai draw the curtains and light the candles, would you?
Because this? Oui, mademoiselle, as you know, Sasuke-sensei and Sasuke-san, my mama and papa asked me to give you this wine they picked up from Bordeaux as an extra special merci for tutoring moi in the world's finest language. This was all they needed.
Oh, I swear, Yoga-kun, if you didn't have such wonderful parents, I'd adopt the hell out of you.
This was what they deserved. Here, Shota-san, we blended this tea for you, so we hope you like it. Blinking out of his thoughts, his eyes moving to Shinso Kimiko and Himurare, the Unuri owner gratefully accepted the cup they offered him upon a bamboo tray, their smiles warm and expressions happy.
Thank you.
He returned before taking a sip, his smile broadening.
It's perfect.
End of Owning a Cafe and Other Heroic Deeds by Beware the Tristero. If you enjoyed this recording or the content, feel free to leave a comment below or a review at the original story from the link in the descriptions. Also, you can become a member to support this channel. Thank you for listening. And now on to our announcement. Do you struggle with working out? Especially if you are stuck at home or have a family, work from home, or all three. I had this issue for years. I know fitness is important, but it's hard to balance it with work and family. I was also not comfortable working in a gym area because I feel very out of shape surrounded by people who work out every day. My husband thought about my needs and has built a brand new fitness platform called Domum Gym. With Domum Gym, you can get personalized training, a community environment, online home workouts, and accountability from your personal trainer all in one platform. And every training session is live streamed and interactive, where your trainer can exercise with you, help you exercise correctly with good form so you don't strain anything, and you'll meet your trainer and new people every session.
You might even see me in a class. I'm definitely going to need it to get my postpartum workouts. Sign up today for free. The beta of this product is almost out, and beta testers will even have the chance to get awesome benefits once the app is live. Sign up to join Domub Gym, a fitness platform that fits your life. Link in the description. Please consider supporting my husband in his endeavor.